Hey, girls and boys. Back to read some more of Lifeboat 12. Just want to remind you that I have put us on a new Google Classroom. It's just the other one, it was just too hard to navigate our way through it with all the different teachers on it. So check that out. There's a code on it that you have to submit into it to get onto the new Google Classroom. Also, I have posted some new assignments and they have dates when they're due. So check those out too, and I'm enjoying reading some of the writing prompts that are finished. So make sure those are done by Friday. Okay, so let's get back to Lifeboat 12. All right. I wake from a fitful sleep, weary, confused. I dreamed I was falling off the ship. Are you all right now, Ken? Asks Mary, eyes pouring into me as she rubs my sore, stiff legs. Now I remember. We saw land, Mary, land. Remember? I swivel my head in all directions, but she doesn't answer. Mary, I say, tell me. There's no land, Ken, says Mary softly. It was the clouds, a mirage. And just like that, poof, the promise of land disappears into thin air. The clouds and sea are smoke and mirrors, evil magicians hypnotizing us, conjuring land, hope, home with hocus pocus. Cruel con artists, there is no land. Hope is a hoax. And now the waves, glittering like knives, take aim at us, our backs against the wall. We grit our teeth, face each other, roller as it hits and slices through, bracing ourselves till the next wave hits. There are only 2 days of water left. After a time, the waves subside, slowing their cruel ride. The wind whistles, indifferent to what it's done. I try to sit up and unstick my tongue from the roof of my dry as dust mouth. My eyes sting from the salt water that washed up over us. I notice Ramjan Baksu checking the breathing of a few of his crewmen, including the young mustached man who had smiled at me. Is he all right? Is he alive? Suddenly, one of the crewmen stands, the one I saw swallowing the seawater. I don't know his name. I don't understand what he's shouting. The other crewman looks startled or annoyed. He strips and, arms up, shouts to the sky, and then, to my astonishment, he springs over the side of the boat. He bobs up, torture on his face. He can't swim, I yell. He's sinking. Help him, Mary screams. We boys and his fellow crewmen jump up, rocking the boat. Baksu, Cooper, and Critchley reach for him, but the waves whisk him away. He surfaces again, coughing and calling, but he's too far gone. He swings his arms, bobbing and weaving, fighting the waves, but with a 1-2 punch from the sea, he goes down for the last time. I slump down, stunned. I've never seen a man drown before. Wailing floods the boat. Paul ducks under the canvas cover as father starts to pray. He went mad, boys, whispers Auntie Mary, staring straight ahead. He lost his mind. The man is no more. I see the crew is unmoored. I see the sores on their feet and the suffering on their faces. I watch Baksu move from man to man in his crew, whispering, reassuring them. I ask Father O'Sullivan, what can I do? Father's too weak to stand, but my question rouses him. He nods at me and says, we've got to do something. He whispers to Mr. Nagorsky, who pulls out a small bottle of medicine from the first aid kit. Mr. Nagorsky anoints the feet of the crewmen whose sores are open wounds. Baksu explains that the medicine will ease their pain and leads them into prayer. There is no remedy for what has happened, only small relief. Mr. Nagorsky moves to each one in turn, and I see how one small kindness between strangers offers distraction from death, who now occupies that empty seat in our boat. Sunburned, wind-burned, I am scorched, and now the fire is dying. I look around and see the gleam in our eyes. The spark inside us all is flickering, fading to cold gray ash. What is Bulldog doing? Please, Auntie Mary, I beg. Please continue the story. Yes, darling. And struggling to speak, she begins the story. Bulldog is at home, sitting in his big red easy chair, whispers Mary. He's wearing his slippers, sipping a hot drink in front of a crackling fire. She shivers as she leans back and closes her eyes. But what about the man he rescued from Peterson's thumbscrews, Mary? Billy asks. What happened, says Howard. Where are those missing pilots? Did Bulldog crack the codes? Crack the codes, said Mary. All is well. But how? Asked Derek. What did the codes say? Mary, please tell us. Mary sits up and opens her eyes. She looks at me, and then the younger boys, one by one, seeing we are all starved for this story. She coughs and whispers, the man Bulldog rescued decoded the pilot's papers. There was something about a spy. Yes, a spy for the Germans. His name was Cage, John Cage. He owned a pub, the ship's pub. Scotland Yard suspected he was up to no good, right, Mary? I say, trying to help her with the story. He was hiding something. That's right, she says. He had the keys. The keys? Asked Paul. The keys to what? The keys to everything, says Mary, drifting off to sleep. Tonight, screaming scares me awake. I rub my eyes, confused. Drink, give me a drink. I am going mad. It's Paul. His feet have swelled even more. They're double in size now. Help me, screams Paul. His feet, whispers Father O'Sullivan to Auntie Mary. They're much worse. Paul screams when Mary touches his feet. It's okay, Paul, I say, patting his arm. He turns, looks me in the eye, and howls, I am mad! Water! The officers exchange grim glances. We all want water. We all need water. Craving and fear rock the boat, but Paul screams. His screams may sink us all. Father O'Sullivan whispers in French with Mr. Nagorski. It is decided. Critchley stands and quietly delivers a dipper of water. Mutinous eyes follow him from stern to bow. Envy rises in me, but I tell myself Paul needs the water more than me. Paul is given enough to moisten his lips, but then he wants more water. In the darkness, I feel tense rustling and rumblings coursing the length of the boat. No one could sleep through his screams. Is Paul really going mad? I look at the other boys, eyes wide in the shadows. Everyone needs his screaming to stop. What now? Demands a loud voice in the dark. It's Harry Purd, making his way up to the bow of the boat. Water? Is that all? Of course you want water. We all do. You'll get your water in the morning. Now you forget about it. Is that all that's wrong with you? My feet are cold, whimpers Paul. Critchley, give me your overcoat, says Purd. He takes it and rewraps Paul's feet, muttering all the while. Are your feet warm now? Demands Purd. Yes, says Paul. Purd curses his way back to the stern, and Paul sleeps. Let's see how much time we have left. We should be happy on a day like this. The rising sun halos the eastern horizon, reflecting a long yellow path in the water that leads us back home, we think. Yes, we should be happy on a day like this, but we have one day of water left. What we need is rain. It's day 8 now, the day we should have reached Ireland, the day we run out of water. In a book, this would be the climax of our story, the point where all the drama happens, where all the problems are solved, where the happy endings begin. This would be the day we are rescued. I scan the horizon, but there's nothing to break the blues of sea and sky. Purvis says there are still stores of water, still stores of food, but who can swallow food without water to wash it down? He says the tank is low. There will be no water at lunch today. Silence fills the boat as we drift, all of us blank and staring, vacant shells of the people we once were, still and empty as our tank. I look up and think of Earth floating in space. I think of England, my island home. Our lifeboat is my island home now. And as it becomes harder to talk, each of us on the boat becomes an island unto ourselves, each of us alone in a great sea of silence. We need our story more than ever. We'll help you, Mary, I say. Bulldog and the boys need to visit the pub, says Fred. The ship's pub. To find the keys, says Paul. Mary goes with Bulldog and the boys, pretending they're a family, I say. Mary wraps her arms around our shoulders and shares a weak smile with Father O'Sullivan. We are a family, aren't we, she says. She sits up, struggles to speak, and goes on. The family went to the pub for lunch. Cage, the owner, came out of the kitchen and asked what they'd like to order. Fish and chips, I say. Bangers and mash, says Fred. Chicken, says Derek. Ice cream, says Billy. Bulldog asked to use the telephone while the others ordered. He looked around the room. Keys. Where would they find a set of keys? What kind of keys? Asked Derek. Automobile keys? House keys? Keys to a safe? I look at Mary and I have an idea. Ken tapped Bulldog on the shoulder and pointed to the piano in the corner of the room. Ah, the piano, says Mary. Ah, brilliant, my boy. I can just see my piano at home. The thought of her piano makes her sit up a bit. She stares at her hands, taps her fingers, and begins again. The keys were piano keys, but which ones? Bulldog nodded to Mary, and she walked over to the piano. Oh, yelled Cage, that piano's broken. Don't touch it. Bulldog held him back as Mary stared down at the keys and thought about the kidnapped pilots. They were being held prisoner somewhere, but where? She glanced at the owner. Ah, and she played the keys, C-A-G-E, but nothing happened. She thought again of those flying aces and stared at the notes on the keyboard, and she played 3 more notes, A-C-E, but nothing happened, except Cage lunged to stop her. Bulldog held him in a firm grip. You're on to something, Mary, said Bulldog. Then his gaze fell on 4 pictures hanging on the back wall. Inside each was a framed playing card, an ace of hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. Interesting artwork, said Bulldog. 4 aces, 4 ace pilots. Play that again, Mary. Play A-C-E, but this time play it 4 times. And Mary did as Cage thrashed. This time a secret door in the back wall slid open. What was inside? The 4 aces, we all shout. Right you are, said Mary. The boys freed the pilots and Bulldog hustled Cage off to the police. Peterson's plan to sell the codes were foiled, and thanks to those pilots, England wins the war. Another Bulldog Drummond case closed, all thanks to those marvelous boys. But wait, Mary, I say. What happened to Peterson? Did he die in the fire? Did he get away? Mary smiles weakly, closes her eyes, and says, That, my dear, is a story for another day. The story that was keeping us alive is over. We are all too weak to begin another story. All that's left is a boundless ocean, a bottomless thirst. Hope of rescue is a small buoy left behind as each wave pushes us toward our unhappy ending. I think I have time for one last chapter. Lying back, I stare up to the blue. We saved the pilots, but where's Peterson? Is Evil alive in a U-boat, in a bomber? Our water is almost gone. I stare up to the cloudless sky, up to heaven. My mom is there, the one I never knew. My mom who died. Ooh. All right. So I'm going to stop right there, and we can continue tomorrow. But I mean, it sounds like they're in pretty dire straits right now. They're pretty much out of water. They have no hope of rescue in sight, and some of them are starting to go a little mad, a little crazy, and the story's over. So they have nothing to kind of distract them. So tune in tomorrow to see what's going to happen. And don't forget that writing prompt. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the day.